How to slow down when public speaking. Are you one of those speakers that speaks way too fast and you can't get ahead of the words, but they're just coming out and you can't slow down? It happens to a lot of speakers. I've even caught myself speaking way too fast. So today we're going to talk about how you can slow the pace down, why it's important to the audience. It's also important for you as a presenter to deliver things better. I'm a Hall of Fame speaker. My name is Jason Hewlett. Thanks for joining me here. I'm excited for you to learn how to slow down the pacing while you give your speech. Let's talk first about pacing. The challenge is truly that when people get on stage, they have to speak faster. In fact, even musicians talk about this. They play the song way faster in concert than on the album. Why? There's an energy with the audience. You just can't help it. You start speaking way too fast and the next thing you know, you've plowed through a speech and everybody's sitting there with their hair blown back by the wind of your speech. What you want to make sure to do is slow down. It gifts the audience your wonderful words that you've spent so much time preparing and creating. Unfortunately, too many speakers speak too fast. And that's why I created this video for you today, because you may be speaking too fast and that's okay. Here's some cool techniques as to why and how you can make it work for you. First of all, let's talk about the importance of slowing down. Slowing down is crucial to effective communication. It actually allows the audience to process the information you're giving them. And so often when somebody's speaking way too fast, the audience just can't capture, especially the great notes that they want to write down because you just cranked right through it. So slowing down is a gift to the audience. It also enhances clarity and articulation. When we speak well and clearly, people can comprehend much better what we're trying to put across. This also builds credibility and authority. If you've heard somebody that speaks way too fast, it actually makes you feel nervous too. And so when they slow it down, it gives them a chance to give you the credibility that you deserve as an audience member. And as you start to slow down, you'll realize, I like this pacing better, because I don't feel panicked. I don't feel like I have to crank through this speech. I can deliver all of these juicy lines I've created, the hard work I've put in to allow the audience to simmer in the greatness of what I've said. One of my favorite examples of speaking slowly is a very famous person, one of the legends of all time, Mr. Fred Rogers. If you ever watched Mr. Rogers, you know that he spoke like this. Well, hello, children. Welcome to Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. Why was he speaking like that? He actually said a quote that I'm going to read to you, which I think is so wonderful. When Mr. Rogers was asked why he talked so slowly, his answer was, "The time between speaking and hearing is sacred." Have you ever thought of that? The time between speaking and hearing is sacred. It is in this piece of time that the Spirit could take what was said to be translated for the hearer. I love that. Mr. Rogers, what a genius. He spoke slowly enough for those children to comprehend and to have the space they needed to take in the power of the words he was saying. When a speaker does not allow for this space to be created, it's cheating the audience of something very sacred and special. There is a connection between all speakers and all audiences. It can be a tight connection or it can be just sort of a loose one. The tighter connection is brought by the speaker who leans in and speaks slowly enough for us to appreciate what they're saying because it influences our heart and our mind. Let's talk about recognizing the need to slow down. One of the main reasons that you need to slow down is probably someone told you you have to. I've watched a lot of speakers through the years who've said, "Can you critique my message?" And all I'll say is, "Everything you said was wonderful. If I could have remembered it, I would have. You spoke way too quickly." And they always say, "Oh, people always tell me I talk too fast." Well, it's time to listen and it's time to slow down. One of the reasons you want to do this is because you maybe feel breathless or rushed. And the other reason is because audience members may feel confused or disengaged because you're speaking so quickly. Have you ever noticed that from an audience? Maybe you feel for yourself where you're like, "Oh man, I feel panicked up here. I have to just keep cranking it out." But the audience is actually disengaging the quicker you start to go. There's also a difficulty in maintaining a coherent flow of ideas. And so what can happen is we start to get ahead of ourselves and forget where we're going. And so slowing down allows us to sort of reset in order to create the coherent miracle that is your speech. So here are some strategies for self-awareness regarding the speed of your speaking. If you're going way too fast, I'd recommend the first simplest fix. Record it. Yeah, bring your phone. Just press record on the voice memos or ask them to record it for you. Hire a videographer and watch yourself back. See how fast you're speaking, and you'll realize quickly that the audience needs you to slow down. It's good to ask someone about their opinion of your pace, especially a speaker coach who can tell you, hey, you know what, you're going way too fast, or you're going way too slow, you're putting the audience to sleep. There is a fine balance, no question. And then consider how you prefer someone to speak to you. Think about it. Somebody talking way too fast, you just don't get it. But when they slow it down, it means more. You lean in, you listen better, and you're able to consume what they're talking about. Here are some techniques to slow down when speaking. Let's first talk about mindful breathing. Consider your breath. Even as you're sitting there, I know that you just went like that. Okay, you can do that on stage even too. I've seen people that have been practicing figuring out how to speak slower on stage, where they come out on stage and they start just plowing right through all the words. They all of a sudden catch themselves and go, actually, I need to slow it down a little bit. And that actually makes the audience lean in as well. I'd recommend the technique of pause for effect. When you pause, it allows the audience to catch up with where you've gotten, and now they can say to themselves, okay, I'm going to be able to assimilate more of this information right now. Pause as much as you possibly can, make it work. You can even use pacing words, which is an interesting technique and idea, where you actually say things like pause or breathe within your speech. You're actually reminding yourself what you should be doing, and the audience will also do it as well. I've seen audience members do like a full audible gasp or breathing in and out when I've seen somebody give a speech where they said, and the next thing I knew, I was going to do something really drastic and I didn't want to hurt myself, but pause, breathe. It was a really cool technique watching this speaker do that, because he was taking them down a road that was going to be hard. And then he had to bring them out of that space without taking them too far deep. And so what he did, said pause and breathe. Genius. Visual aids will also help you with this idea of slowing down. In other words, have your slides allow you to give yourself a little bit of a break so that you're speaking so fast you can look up at the slide and say what you're going to say. Sometimes that gives a great visual for the audience, and then it gives you the chance to be able to relax for just one moment, catch yourself, and start a new pace. I would also recommend practicing vocal variety. And so you can talk really loud, but you can also talk really high, and then you can talk slow and low. You choose the pacing for which you'll be giving the audience, but vocal variety helps a lot. So let's talk about overcoming some challenges about slowing down. Maybe you're nervous about the following. When you speak quickly, you're thinking you're keeping the audience's attention, and that if you slow down, you'll lose them or you'll disengage them. I don't think it could be even further from the truth. The fact is the more you slow down in a way that matters, not just because you're slowly meandering through a speech, but rather you're giving them such great information that they need you to slow down. Don't have this fear that you're going to lose them because you slow down. They'll be with you even more. You may even feel pressure to rush through all of your content because your time was squeezed. Recently, I had a full hour before I went on stage, but then right before I went on, the other speakers had gone too long, so I asked right before I went on, how long do I have? And they said, we need you to do 40 minutes. Unfortunately, I had an hour's worth of slides that I could not change in that moment. And so what did I do? I just had to contract the stories. I had to kind of shift things just a little bit, and I made it through the speech without speaking too quickly. But it also helped me refine the presentation to a better spot. So that can be a good thing. There's also a difficulty in breaking these old habits. If you speak naturally and quickly, then there's going to be a bit of a learning curve. But record yourself. Ask your peers. Make sure that you get all of the information that you can from people about how fast you're speaking, and that doing your best to continue to try to slow down means maybe you need to take a story out. Maybe one of your 10 points needs to be lessened. And as you start to fill that space with more pause and a slower pace, the audience will appreciate it. Let's talk about implementing your new skills as a slower speaker. I'd say to set some clear intentions for yourself, some goals. It's okay. Maybe you could say to yourself, I'm going to take out this whole section and this whole piece and see what happens if I slow it down. This is a really brave thing to do, and I dare you to try it. It will help you to set some clear intentions for yourself to say, I'm going to fill this hour with more space rather than words. You'll see a big difference. Rehearsing with purpose matters. Performing and practicing this over and over again, whether in your hotel room or with a peer or with a group of people, allows them to say, hey, you told that story way too quickly. Can you just slow it down a little bit? The more you rehearse and practice, the better you'll get at this technique. We've talked recording it. I'd recommend you continue to try that, whether it's on a video camera or with audio. I would also give the suggestion of this. Go on a podcast, do a live webinar, do a live stream, and watch how fast you are plowing through this material. Obviously, every time the light comes on, we start to panic. But if we can say to ourselves, I owe it to my audience to slow down, great things will happen. And then finally, you need to celebrate your progress. I mean, you're making a huge change. You're a naturally fast speaker, or when you get on stage, you just plow through it. Celebrate when you're able to slow it down. To say to yourself, wow, I really made that shift. A lot of people never work on the craft of speaking. All they do is work on what they should say. But when it comes to your body language, when it comes to your vocal variety, your pacing, and slowing it down, people will notice and they'll take note by saying that person works hard at their craft, and you'll become a greater speaker. So what I'd like you to do is to engage with me on this video by commenting below. If you'll share your experience about how it's been to slow down your speaking, as well as how you've changed it up to become even better as a speaker. Maybe it's by adding in visuals and some new slides. Maybe it's by taking out a big story, or even just figuring out a way to say, I'm going to insert within this section a certain way that I'm going to say it. I appreciate anything that you're willing to put in the comments about it, because it will help me to also slow down in the appropriate places. Here's what I would advise you to not do, however. I don't want you to just never speak quickly again, because there are times when the energy of a quick story really works. But that's what it should be. It should be when you're telling a story and it's something energetic and exciting, and then you can slow it down to deliver the point. So when I tell stories, I'll certainly crank through something really funny where it is justified. But then I slow it down to say, the reason that I share that story is because, and then I share my points. So put in the comments as to how you've done this and the techniques you've used, because it'll help everyone that gets the chance to watch this video. And I hope that you'll like and subscribe, and I'm excited for you to slow down your next speech.